Hello, hello everyone. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. This is Mentor Ana once again and we are live. So it's March 3. It's exactly 3:11 in the afternoon dito sa Pilipinas. So medyo mainit ang ating weather. How are you? Kamusta po ang inyong Tuesday? Maybe most of you are still at work or maybe it's your break and you are here. Thank you so much. I hope that you are all doing okay and you all had a so far okay ang inyong araw, no, and hopefully until the end of the week. And it's really interesting kasi every March, diba, it's really summer, but you know what, it's also the hottest temperature so far dito sa Pilipinas. Maybe some of you are already planning to buy your cold desserts, right? Ako, I'm thinking of buying after this live. But anyways, if this is your first time to see me go live, ako po si Ana Montesa. I'm a former accounting and finance professional. Dating isang hospital CFO, nagtrabaho sa corporate world for 15 years, turned digital business mentor and owner for 5 years. So 2 years after starting the business, nakapag-retiro po ako sa aking trabaho. That's why I'm very passionate about helping mga kapwa kong accountants who also wants to create their life beyond their 9 to 5. So we are actually streaming live on my Facebook page, on my LinkedIn account, and also on my YouTube channel. So if this is your first time to see me go live, feel free to share wherever you are watching right now. And for those who will catch us on the replay, please also drop in kung saan ka man nanonood. If you are here in the Philippines or outside the Philippines, please feel free to share where you are watching from. All right, so let's get started. So, for today, if you've been following my page, we are talking about our mindset every Tuesdays, right? So, for today, I wanted to talk about something that quietly holds a lot of people, especially yung mga capable people, to really start something new. This is the topic. It's all about fear, right? And what I'm going to talk about this afternoon is something that is not a dramatic type of fear, pero ito yung mga subtle fear, especially with the fear of starting, right? Of course, pwede rin nating sabihin ito yung fear of being seen, fear of trying something unfamiliar. And ang daming tao na, they really interpret the fear as a sign to stop. That's why for today's episode, I wanted to share that fear doesn't mean stop. It means that you are stretching. So, of course, what if yung fear that you're feeling right now, it actually doesn't mean na you need to stop or you need to, doubt yourself and stop wherever you are. Saan? Kung ano yung ginagawa mo ngayon, if that's actually your first time to do something, right? Sa umpisa talaga, it's very uncomfortable. Fear, later on, I'll mention bakit nga ba natin nararamdaman ito, no? So I just wanted to, cover this because I'm sure that there's a lot of us that are experiencing this, right? And I just wanted to remind you, how our mind really works and why do we feel the fear. So of course, ang ating brain is actually wired and, it's really trained to protect you. It's really trained to protect you or protect us. And anything that is actually unfamiliar feels unsafe for you. So kahit na, even if this is really one great opportunity or it's a project that you have been wanting to start. So when you try something new, what happens is, ano ba example ng mga something new? It can be a new path for you. It can be learning a new skill for you. It can be learning a new way of earning, right? What happens is yung ating mind really reacts doon sa discomfort that we are feeling. Why? Because it is unfamiliar to you and you haven't done it before. So that's actually how our mind works, right? And I wanted to share that with you because I've also experienced that. We all have experienced that at some point in our life na natakot tayo because this is something unfamiliar. Now, that discomfort feels like fear. But I just wanted to say this, but discomfort is really not danger. It's actually growth. When you are trying to start something new because you haven't done it for the first time, you are actually growing. And when you are starting to do something na ngayon mo palang iintindihin, ngayon mo palang susubukan, you are actually doing something and you are definitely growing. So just to share with you some of my real experience though, if you know my story, ako po ay isang CFO, I've mentioned kanina, and for those who are also working in the corporate world, working that long sa corporate world, I was really comfortable with my environment. Yung mga nakatrabaho mo na, yung industriya, yung mga taong pinagkatiwalaan mo, you are very comfortable with your work environment. Sabihin natin, komportable na rin ako na, meeting in the boardrooms, submitting all of the financial report, doing the analysis, yung mga structured meetings that I have been, attending dun sa aming kumpanya. I was very confident. First, umpisa, it didn't really happen biglaan, no, but it really took a while to reach that far and become confident, right? Pero when I decided to start the business back in January of 2021, it actually stretched me again, right? So part of the things, just to give you an idea what you're going to do when you become your own digital entrepreneur, you work for yourself, you had to post online. I had to share my thoughts, my opinion publicly, yung aking point of view, my own experiences. And I had to do go live and speak if you are ready, but this is really highly suggested, because why? Because, I want you guys to see me that this is the real me. I'm a real person and I'm the ones really running my business. And sometimes when I do my go live and speak in front of you online, sometimes with very few viewers, the feeling of, nako, meron bang manonood sa akin, meron bang susuporta, meron bang magko-comment, meron bang mag-engage with my lives and my posts. And that was actually very uncomfortable for me. And if you're like me, hindi rin ako very, inclined to really share a lot about my life in social media. That's why I was just, a very passive user of social media platforms. I only have LinkedIn and Facebook. Lately lang din ako nag-add ng Instagram and YouTube, no? But, there were moments that I thought na, ano bang isipin ng mga tao about me when they see my business? I've been doing the business in the online space. And this is actually not my usual space because all this time I was just getting used to working in the corporate world. Kumbaga, quietly ka lang sa back-end support ka lang, hindi ikaw ang lalabas sa sarili mong negosyo, right? And you know what? I'm not really used to being so visible like this, like what I'm doing right now. And if you would go back to how I really present myself like 5 years ago, I was that very scared woman na takot na lumabas at sabihin yung kanyang storya at mag-share ng value sa mga tao because that's not what I was really used to doing, when I was just working in the corporate world. But doon ko na realize that, if I stayed comfortable with where I am, I think I would stay the same. You won't see me this way, right? You also think about those times, di ba, na kapag maybe for those of you who already promoted, umakyat ka na sa ladder, then nag-supervise ka na ng tao, maybe look back. Sa umpisa, it's very uncomfortable, right? When you got promoted, pero sooner or later, you will get to appreciate, di ba, yung journey that you went through, na hindi naman pala nakakatakot. It's just that at the beginning, right, the first few steps that you are going to start, medyo nakakatakot because hindi mo pa nagagawa. Hindi mo pa siya nasusubukan before. But as you move along and you do it repetitively, the more that you get more confident, right? And of course, you learn from your mistakes, right? Nobody becomes an expert right away. So you also give yourself some grace, right? Or patawarin mo yung sarili mo if you commit some mistakes, right? So for me, I think stretching really meant that you have to show up even when, in this business, even when the engagement was low, right? That I am talking about the business publicly, to share my business with pride, no, because this business helped me retire from my corporate job. Sabi ko, bakit nga ba ako matatakot? Because that's actually my story and I'm just really grateful and I just wanted to help more women and accountants like me and other professionals na kung gusto din nila ng ganung buhay. So it's just me just sharing my business and also positioning myself as an entrepreneur, and I'm not just an employee. So for me, those were the things that I had never done before. If you would see me do my posting on my social media profile, sabi ko nga, na-mention ko to before, that I'm just sharing motivational quotes, belief of women who are also successful in their respective expertise, and sharing a bit about my life in the corporate world. Pero nung lumabas na ako with the business, that's when I realized I had to do all of those things. And, ito yung mga bagay na I have to admit that I was never good at first. And yung pag-stretch na yun, really built a new version of me. And I'm really grateful, no, because, it gave me the idea that I can also do it. And I just had to, endure the stretch for a while because I haven't done it before. But later on, that fear also faded away. Now, I just wanted to share with you some three key points, no? And if specifically for you, if you are also experiencing fear somewhere along the way, maybe you're already in the business, or maybe you are at work, maybe you wanted to push yourself further, gusto mong mag-achieve ng new, let's say, project, you wanted to take in a new project, or you wanted to start a new project also in your business, or a new collaboration, right? So I wanted to share with you some of the key things that, really would somehow inspire you to really embrace fear, right? And of course, to inspire you to not stop, never quit, and because it's really part of your growth, right? So, number one is fear is often a sign of expansion. So, even if it really feels uncomfortable at first, but you know what? When you are doing the things that you are, not doing before, or things that you haven't, you just do it for the first time, but it's still uncomfortable, but you are aligned, it's probably growth, right? So some of the key things that you can do to, push yourself, to see yourself expanding after you pursue, doing something kahit natatakot ka. Maybe you need to identify one thing that you have been avoiding, maybe in the business, right? Because it feels uncomfortable for you. So, and when you have already identified that, take one small step towards doing that this week. So it hasn't, hindi naman kailangan yung super biglaan, no? Just very small exposure, for example, here in the business. Like maybe if you haven't posted about something personal, do that. If you haven't recorded videos, then do that. If you haven't do solo lives, do that. So those small exposure that you're doing, yeah, at first that's not going to be perfect, but with practice and repetition, you will become good at it, right? Now, number two, of course, visibility builds your confidence, right? So, of course, confidence really didn't come before I showed up. This is not how I speak before. In parati ko itong kwento, a funny story that when I showed up before my first few lives, I was doing like 5 days or 7 days gratitude challenge with another accountability partner somewhere from Australia. The first few episode of doing the go live, I was really perspiring. Why? Because I was so nervous. I was so nervous. And, I don't know if people will like whatever I will share with them, or kung ano man. So, the fear really expressed through my body, kaya ako nagpe-perspire. As in, super tumutulo talaga, kahit hindi naman ganun kainit. But anyways, what happened was, it really came, that confidence, it really didn't come before I showed up. So I showed up even though ako ay kinakabahan. It really came because I kept showing up. So sabi ko, pinush ko yung sarili ko, okay, we have that 90 days go live challenge in our business community. So that is something that I wanted to develop within me. So I had to, I get to say yes to that challenge. And, that challenge, I was really grateful for Coach Aranet for doing that program, because it really pushed me to become confident in doing go lives such as this one, right? So some of the key actions that you can take to really, help you build your confidence, by being visible in your business, is you can just speak up once, right? You can share one idea, for example, that you truly believe in. You can post one insight, for example, that you learned from our training or mastermind, like, or meron kang narinig from one of our business leaders that you wanted to share with your audience that really inspire you, right? To do more in your business, right? So you just need to start small, but what really is important is just start. Just hit the go live button, just hit the post button, and just hit the record button and just post it, right? Because I've also did that. Nung una, ayokong i-post kasi parang hindi ako maganda or hindi ako perfect. But then, you know what? I had to post it so that I can get used to it and criticize kung may mga kailangan ko improve. And then I just improve with my future post. And that's really what really helped me, to overcome that fear of being judged in the online space. Number three, you don't become ready right away. What happens is when you face your fear, you become stronger, right? Because the more that you keep up with your promises to yourself, the more that you help yourself, prove to yourself na talaga namang you can do it, right? And sometimes it's actually our mind telling us that we can do it. So what you do is you prove to yourself that you can do it by doing it agad, right? So of course, stretching really rewires your self-image because the more that you do something, especially yung mga hindi mo pa nagagawa before, it really, tells you, right, na kahit natatakot ka, right, it really sends a message to yourself that, hey, I can handle this. Kaya ko to. Or, I'm going to be good at this. That's why I'm doing this. And the more that you do it, you build trust within yourself. And I think yun yung nakatulong din for me na instead of thinking about what other people will say, is I just do it because I'm doing it for myself. Because I wanted to prove that I can do it just like those other people who are successful in the business. Right? And that actually compounds every time that I do it, right? Every time that you do your posting on your business page or every time that you show up, it actually helps you build your confidence. And later on, yung fear na nararamdaman mo will slowly fade away. And then you'll realize that it was not just hindi naman talaga totoo. So it was not really your reality, right? So, I just wanted to share a classic example, maybe for those who are wanting to lose weight ngayon dahil summer season na, ito lang naisip ko that really comes to mind. Like, for example, think about going to the gym for the first time. Na-experience ko rin to before. Like, sa umpisa, it really feels awkward, right? Parang, do I really belong here or what? You feel like you are out of place, like during the first few days that you visit the gym, right? But that discomfort is really not a signal that you don't belong there, right? It's actually a signal that you are building something new that's part of your self image or that's part of your new identity. And you know what? Entrepreneurship also felt like that for me no umpisa. Na hindi ako komportable, but then you know what? I really worked on myself, especially yung mga fears one by one. And I was able to, address them by showing up every single day. So ask yourself today. So if you also feel the fear, right, somehow in your business, or maybe you feel you're not comfortable showing up in your business, right? Ask yourself if the fear the fear that I'm feeling right now is a warning or is it a stretch, right? Because for me, the business that I started, this business, the digital business that I started and I built didn't remove the fear. What happened was when I really said yes to this journey, this new path, it actually stretched me. Of course, when you start a business, it will require you visibility, it will require growth. But you know what? It also created another way of earning for me. Doing this business from home, doing this go lives with you, sharing what I've learned, and with also the intention of also helping you out if you're also feeling the same way at this point in your business journey, or maybe you are thinking about starting this business in the future, right? Hindi ka pa ready ngayon, it's totally okay. But you know what? I'm sharing this because, I was once like you. I see you as well. I've also been through the same journey, yung may takot din in sa umpisa at duda, but it's really a business that you can also build gradually without, for example, if you're still working full time, without quitting your career at first, without really gambling everything muna, right? So if you have been curious about earning differently, pero nandun yung fear, and that really is holding you from deciding, right? Maybe it's really not a red flag, right? So let's really switch our mindset this time. If you're feeling fear, right? Maybe it's actually a stretch for you. And maybe that is something that you also need to embrace and listen to if that is your inner voice, right? And if you feel like you will be growing when you embrace that fear, right? And start this business. So if you are, curious and you are interested to explore how this business works and see if it really aligns with you and your goals, right? Comment the word start or just send me a message at Usap po tayo and I'll walk you through the process step by step, calmly and clearly, because I want you to get the clarity that you need so that you can also make your own informed decision. All right. So I hope I was able to inspire you and give you value. And maybe in the next few days or weeks or months or years, you will also embrace that fear will not really go away, right? It's really part of our growth, right? It's normal to feel afraid once in a while, but one solution that you can do to really, you know, embrace fear is to really accept that it's really part of growth. It's really part of your journey. If you wanted to see yourself grow, right? You wanted to see the highest version or higher version of yourself. You want to see if you want to become a successful entrepreneur, you have to embrace it and you have to accept that it's really part of your growth. It's really going to stretch you. But later, sooner or later, you also thank yourself that you also did it anyway, right? So that's it for this afternoon. Happy Mindset Tuesday, everybody. And I wanted to, remind you that growth begins where comfort ends. All right. So thank you, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now, and happy Tuesday, everybody.